Hey, all right. Finally went live. Took a minute to get up there, so I want another another Ross topic to talk about. But let's lead off with William Byron, who because I said he's going to run bad today, he will probably win. Uh, I knew that would happen. So good on Big Hat Byron for getting it done there, taking home the dub. Let's see here, but let's see. Right now, 70% are mad at Ross Chastain. I started the poll before I even got on here. So that is interesting. And let's see, jump right into the comments because I'll just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. What a race says, Oakside, for sure. I had Byron pick to win this race on fantasy. Hey, there you go. Good on you. How about Larson pushing Chastain for a couple hundred feet? Yeah, he never once let up out of the gas. So that's definitely pretty cool. And Cody Anderson has gifted a baloney membership, so I appreciate you, Cody Anderson. Let's see. I don't even know what that means, so I'm gonna have to look at that and see how to work that one out. Let's see. Yes, but he was definitely mad at he was definitely mad in the moment. He walked off and didn't want to do any interviews. And so it's one of those situations where you're sort of darned if you do, darned if you don't. If he gives an interview and says something, he'll get criticized for that. If he walks off, he's going to get criticized for walking off. It's just the way the media works. So either way, no matter what you do, somebody's always going to have something to say. Shaking up my drink here. I don't have. I'm not shaking or anything like that. 24 wins. I'll do my best not to be obnoxious. Says say Kyle, not Cal. Don't worry about it, man. Blow it out. Your dude definitely won. Oh, say Kyle was gifted. I got you. Right on. Appreciate you there, Cody Anderson. Are you mad at Ross BB? I think Larson is. I haven't seen an interview from Kyle. Says OJ and toothpaste. I'm not mad at him. It's one of those deals. They were both racing hard. They were both bumping into each other and racing aggressively. To be honest with you, I think they were both being boneheads. Like that's kind of where I stand on it. I think they were both being pretty stupid. So, I mean, it's the end of the race. If you think you've got a better car, which I think Larson did in that moment, just let him get by and try to pass him later when you're not on the outside. Me personally, I would have given him the position because I'm on the outside and I know that if he comes up, it's going to be me that gets in trouble. But that being said, this is happening boom, 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 fast like that. So do you really have that much time to think about it? But me personally, I would have gave him the spot and then tried to pass him later because I felt like Kyle Larson had the better car. I felt like Ross's car ran good for about 12 or 15 laps. Then after that, it fell off. That being said, it's going to be hard to pass Ross Chastain. So maybe that's what Kyle Larson was factoring in. But even then, if you're passing him, you put him on the outside. So he's in the vulnerable position. But that's just the way I sort of played it out in my head. But I knew when that restart happened, I was like, they're going to wreck. I knew they were going to wreck. I was hoping they wouldn't wreck, but I had a good feeling what was coming. And say Kyle says, thank you, Cody. Let's see. Definitely cool deal, Cody. I appreciate you, man. That was awesome. Dead End Viper. If Kyle Busch didn't overshoot his pit stall, he really had a shot to win. I agree with that 100%. I'm with you because even at the end, he came up to be like he was he finished top 5 if I'm not mistaken. Hold on one second. Let me answer this one and then I'll get back to it. But yeah. Are you mad at Ross? Larson is pissed. Yeah, I'm not mad at Ross. I'm not mad at Kyle. I just think they were both going for it. Rick stated he wants to see his team pay back Ross, says Gojo. I mean, from Kyle Larson's perspective, he's been wrecked by him 3 times this year. So, I mean, I get it. But I didn't see this particular incident as anything more than Ross Chastain going for it. But at the end of the day, they were both driving rough. So, I mean, it is what it is. What do you do in that situation? Do you not go for the win? So, I don't know. Same thing with Kyle Larson. What do you do in that situation? Not go for the win? It's just a tough situation, tough racetrack. The restarts at Darlington. Who was expecting to see that many pileups in the back of the pack too? KFB crew screwed him today, says Camaro 50. Well, that and he ran past his pit stall one time too. So yeah, definitely pit road cost him. I think he had a good chance. I think he definitely would have won if it hadn't been for the issues on pit road. I will say that. So RCR gave one away today because the 2 cars that were fastest at the end wrecked each other. Poor Young Money, he raced Ross the same way. The restart before, says Mark Barnum. That's what I'm saying. Kyle Larson did it. Ross Chastain did it once, Kyle Larson did it once, and then Ross Chastain did it a second time, and Ross Chastain they happened to finish it off the second time. So it is what it is. Like, I'm not mad at either dude. You got to go for the wins. But sometimes when you're going for the wins, that's what happens. William Moses Byron, the seas parted for him. Can't believe he didn't get caught up in the. Me neither, man. Like, that was crazy. Like, he went right through it. It was Days of Thunder-ish. Days of Thunder-esque. Days of Thunder-esque. He slid into the pit box. 55% saying no right now. So the poll is up. Are you mad at Ross Chastain this weekend? I think I'm just going to run this poll every week. He slid into his box. That stop, says Oakside. Yes, I feel like he slid past the line. I feel like that last stop was probably on Kyle Busch, but we'll see. I'll have to watch the replay. Debbie Gentry, Larson drove like Hamlin last night. So who is the bad guy? And he ran across the pit wall and didn't expect payback. Pretty dirty driving last night. Karma for John Hunter, says Debbie Gentry. And once again, I didn't have a problem with that one either. It's just part of it. If you're going to drive like that, it's going to get done back to you. And I don't have a problem with Kyle Larson not giving an interview if he's mad, because if you're mad, you're going to say something dumb. I have no problem with him walking off as opposed to saying something stupid. So it is what it is. But yeah, if you're going to drive aggressively, don't complain about it when it gets done back to you, which he hasn't complained about it yet to the media. He just declined to interview. So he is so far he's doing good. Ross jumped the restart and NASCAR did nothing, says Joseph Wooten. Yeah, that's what Fox is insinuating. They never would show a replay as to whether or not it was past the start-finish line box. So we never did get to see a full replay of did he jump it, did he not jump it. But it definitely, according to the Fox analysts, he jumped the restart. Bill Elliott's the one that actually caught it. So if he wasn't penalized, if he did that and wasn't penalized, that's another one that NASCAR missed, and NASCAR should have done something there if they were not beyond the restart box. Good race. Sucks that Ross nor Kyle won, says Josh Strickland. Yeah, that's probably what sucks about it the most. It looks like it was going to be a really good finish, and we got robbed of that really good finish. It is so funny. I saw Larson doing an interview last week saying how good Chastain is for the sport. Yep, it's that's part of it. He'll probably be mad about it today, and he'll probably get over it once he sees the replays. Will Larson ever retaliate? Great merch. I got my Bologna Burger shirt and decals this week, says Tim Brace. I appreciate you, Tim Brace. I don't know if he's ever going to retaliate. He doesn't seem to be like that type of dude. I feel like he's more focused on winning the championship than getting into these tit for tats. But that being said, if you get wrecked enough times, it could possibly lead to retaliation. Rick Hendrick and Cliff Daniels were pretty pissed off after the race, says OJ and Toothpaste. So yeah, I mean, unless they're going to get in the car and do something about it, though, I really don't think I see Larson paying it back other than just going out there and winning and driving him. He'll probably drive him more aggressively than normal, but I don't think he'll go out there and intentionally turn him or anything like that. But that being said, we have seen him intentionally turn Justin Haley before. And off the top of my head, that's the only one in Cup that I can remember. But I'm sure somebody else will point out another one because it'll be their guy that got ran over. But off the top of my head, that's the only guy I remember him intentionally like wrecking and putting into the wall. Now, he moved Chase Elliott for a win, but he didn't wreck Chase Elliott. So I know the Chase Elliott fans are going to say that. Wish Harvick would not have had a damaged car so he could have raced Willie Harder for the win, says Mark Barnum. Yep, that's unfortunate, but at least he got a good finish out of it. When Ross asked if they were even on the radio, we all knew we weren't even. Says one wise guy, this Ross mess is getting old. It's every week, says Escobar. So some people are already getting tired of it. I love the paint scheme on the 24. Really considering getting the 124th Elite. It was that paint scheme's an all-timer. That's one when Jeff Gordon ran it, people still talk about it. Do you feel bad for Truex, says OJ and Toothpaste? In this particular race, I don't feel bad for Truex because he ran over, like, his car was super tight and he wasn't doing it on purpose, but he put at least two people in the wall that I saw. Is that your YouTube logo on the wall at Ace? I saw it during the Cars Tour race. Says Dead End Viper. That is my logo on the Ace wall. So if you go to Ace Speedway, I've got them in all four turns. The Bologna Burger wing is flying high at Ace all season this year. Well, I missed the first two races, but after that, we're riding with Ace Speedway this year. So yeah, it was there for the Cars Tour races. Red Frog, this is a hard deal because they both drive exactly the same, and at some point, it's going to happen to both of them. Kyle drives everybody rough, even his teammates, and on dirt, says Red Frog. That's what I'm saying. It's just two guys being aggressive. I don't think Kyle Larson will probably come out and say anything out of character. because he knows he races in a similar fashion, not maybe to the extent of Ross Chastain, but then again, the media is in love with talking about Ross Chastain. So who knows? Not a Hendrick fan, but at least the best throwback scheme came in first, says Waltrip Flair. Hey, so there you go. A lot of people do love that, Jeff. It was never my favorite scheme, but I know a lot of people really loved it. I was never a huge fan of the color change stuff, but if you are a huge fan of the color change stuff, which is the vast majority of the world other than me, I'm in the minority on this one. So, that's definitely one of the coolest paint schemes ever. Happy to see Newman back on track. I hated to hear his seat was not set up right and affected his race. Yeah, that stunk. He was actually doing really good for Rick Ware equipment, but at the end of the day, didn't get the finish he probably deserved. I thought both were good, says Josh Strickland. Yeah, I think they were both just going for it, man. Like, I don't really. I mean, the media is going to play it up because it's going to get a lot of clicks and stuff like that. I just saw two dudes going for the win. It seems like it's always Ross. How many times can you say it's just racing hard? I mean, because he was just racing hard. It's always Ross because Ross is always at the front of the field this year. So that's part of it too. You don't really race that hard in the back. And it gets televised, right? So it is what it is. And I promise you, there are guys in the back racing just as hard and doing what Ross is doing. You're just not seeing it on TV. The reason you see Ross so much is because he's the one with that style that's doing it up front. Ross jumped the start and nothing happened, said Escobar. Yep, we just talked about that. NASCAR, if he did it, like if it was outside of the box, then he was free to be the leader on the restart. Like I said, Fox never showed a replay of it to get a clear, definitive answer on it. But yeah, if he jumped the restart, like Bill Elliott said, and I tend to agree with Bill Elliott because Bill Elliott's been there, done that. NASCAR definitely should have penalized him. So this probably never would have happened because he would have gone to the back of the field. Did you think BJ McLeod would have had a better race today? Maybe a top 10? No, I looked at the stats, and this is not a BJ McLeod track. Denny Hamlin had a jump car today. Woohoo! LOL. Says OJ and toothpaste. Yeah. Denny's car was not good today. That's to say the least. And then they had that crazy. You knew he was throwing a Hail Mary when he stayed out there on old tires. I loved it, but I don't want to see it every race either. For every race like this, I also want to see the 2022 Kansas race with Kurt Busch versus Larson. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would rather see a good, clean finish, but I mean, I understand both guys are going for it. Let's not act like this is like a 3-groove racetrack either. Both guys were going for the same piece of real estate. It is what it is. Like they were literally just racing for the win. Did you see Ryan Newman interview after the race? I guess he couldn't fit in the seat. Yeah, that I didn't see that interview, but somebody just mentioned it right there. That definitely sucks. Hopefully they get that figured out for future races. Larson is like Matt Kenseth. Yeah, he's not going to talk about it, and if he feels like he needs to do something about it, he'll do that in his own time. Going to have to pick up the 24 race win 124 with my Gordon 124 Chrome Illusion. I'll tell you what's funny. During the race, UPS delivered a diecast, which is ironic because Ross Chastain was running the UPS scheme, and I was like, how topical is that? I was like, man, even the mail is topical on Ross Chastain because, like you guys are saying, it is every week at this point with Ross Chastain. There will be a breaking point, says Joseph Wooten. Yeah, I mean, that breaking point was definitely today, right? Because Kyle Larson could have let out of the gas, could have let him slid up there, but Kyle Larson stayed in the gas and kept driving through him after the wreck had happened. So he was definitely voicing his displeasure as far as that goes. Let's go to Wilkesboro and clean them out. First of all, let's go win high limits races on Tuesday. There you go. Kyle Larson is going to have a super busy schedule. I will be at North Wilkesboro on Tuesday and Wednesday for the cars. I'll be helping out with the cars tour, Tate Fogelman, and on the pro late model side, I will be helping Justin Whitaker. So I will be up there at Wilkesboro for those. I do not have tickets to the All-Star race, so I will not see you there. But if you're going to the All-Star race, enjoy that. Eric Jones pit members going to have a little vacation coming up. Yeah, that was terrible, dude. That was the first big one. The second big one was from Martin Truex Jr. But yeah, that's going to be a long vacation for them. Did you see social media is jumping on Boyer it was actually Mike Joy for referring to the Redskins football team. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, and he even explained it. He said Redskins because that's the team that Joe Gibbs coached. But at the end of the day, nobody on Twitter cares because I don't know. I grew up in an era of sticks and stones, so I'm not going to pretend like that hurts my feelings that he said Redskins instead of Washington Commanders. William, I think North Wilkesboro will be a wreck fest, both trucks and cup. Yeah, because it's a huge race. I think everybody's going to be going for it. Brendan Poole had a very fast car today. Surprised he didn't win a stage today. Wow. Yeah, but he did win the race. I did pick that one. Mid live stream, when I saw Brendan Poole was racing, I changed it. I said, I'm changing my pick to who picks last to Brendan Poole. And that's one pick that I nailed. So I completely nailed that one. I also said, according to the numbers, I wouldn't pick William Byron. I was like, but after that, I said, but just because I said that, watch William Byron win this race. So technically, I picked the first and the last cars there. Ross is kind of driver I would want in my car. Easy, ladies. Says Roush number one. I mean, yeah, like he's a dude that's going to go for wins and not worry about what you think. And that's kind of what you want. In my opinion, that's what I want in a race car driver. Greetings from the Great White North. I'm glad the race went smoothly and there's no controversy, nothing to talk about this week. Everybody is happy. Yeah, same here, Robin Marks. And what's up, Canada? For $1 million, you will see a lot of junk, says William Wagaman. I agree, 100%. Booth was good, is what I meant. Carl, Bill, Cal, and Patty and the King. Cal, Patty, and the King, says Josh Strickland. Yeah, it was a good booth. Aside from the fact that Clint Boyer kept talking over top of Richard Petty, it was a really good booth. I'm totally neutral on Ross, but if he jumped the start, he absolutely would have been penalized. And if that happened, the 24 wouldn't have won. So there's my biased opinion. Yeah. I think if he jumped the restart, he definitely should have been penalized 100%. I knew what you meant. Should have been penalized. 21 drove a good race, says Aaron Flynn. Yeah. That's another thing. Harrison Burton needed this finish. So good for Harrison Burton because he was taking it on the chin from everybody everywhere about being in that race car. So good run for Harrison Burton. When somebody does something good, we should call it out. We should not necessarily be negative all the time. So right on for Harrison Burton. Good on him. Did you do the podcast party bus today, BB? Take some shots of Sailor Shell at Jerry's with the fam. I didn't. I wasn't down there. I was tired from South Boston. I thought about going down there just to say what's up to those guys and tell them I appreciate everything they do. But I was out of energy. I didn't wake up in time to do all that. So it is what it is. But I did wear the T-shirt. So I'm there with them in spirit. Even though I have nothing to do with it, I just think what they're doing is really cool. Let's see. Ross races hard. Get over it, folks, says Mark Kirby. I mean, that's where I'm at with it, too. Ross Chastain, they're locked into making him the bad guy. So it is what it is at this point. Ross Chastain going to get hurt, says William Wagaman. I mean, there's always the potential for that to happen. Wise decision for Kyle to pass, making comments. It's a no-win no matter what he would say. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And even him just walking by and not commenting, people are dragging him for not commenting. So it is what it is. Thumbs up for the video or you'll feel bad and have bad luck, says Robin Marks. I don't know about that. But if you want to give the video a thumbs up, I would much appreciate that. But don't feel forced to. That was funny how far Kyle pushed Ross down the track, says Josh Strickland. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They both were going for it. They both were racing hard. Let's see. That's fun. Denny's the dork that lives up to his name today, says William Wagaman. I mean, he stayed out for I don't know what that call was by Chris Gabehart, but I guess they were just going for the Hail Mary, hoping for a caution. I have no problem with Ross. Just watch some races from the 90s. That type of racing was common and much more entertaining, says Gojo. And I guess that's where I stand with it, too, because that's the era I grew up in. I was used to people driving super aggressively. BB picked Poole, and I picked the 24. The Kyles are 100% today. That's right. We're rolling. We're on fire. We're on a heater. I'm good. I'm good on the prop bets, and we'll stick with say Kyle, not Cal, for the main eventer bets. For entertainment purposes only. What happened with the 43 pit crew? Missed the race today. Alexa gave me the wrong start time. Says Delmar Kaufman. They forgot to attach a lug nut, and then on a restart, the wheel came off, and it caused a Daytona style pileup in the back of the pack. Mark Kirby, Carl Edwards is coming back. I think from his demeanor and body language, I think that's a fair rumor to start, but we'll have to see. Will NASCAR come out? He did say he is at least going to race some local stuff, so that'll be interesting. There is a poll up. Are you mad at Ross Chastain today? If you want to vote on the poll. Yep. Let me do this too because I am partnered with Accelerated Graphics, and they're doing my t-shirts for me, and they've put up a website for me. So if you want to get the merch, there's the link for the merch. Accelerated Graphics does a lot of other stuff too. We'll get into that in some future videos. But for now, the merch store is right there. So if you want to check it out, there it is. Will NASCAR come out on safety about Larson pushing Ross after the wreck? I think they'll probably have something to say to Kyle Larson personally about that. I don't think they'll make a public statement about it. Can you imagine the irony of them using SMT data for a penalty after looking past the jump to restart? I mean, that's what I think is going to happen. I think they'll just say something behind the scenes, but they're not going to do anything about it because, like you said, a lot of people feel like they missed the jump to restart. As a certified Burton Trasher, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't impressed with his finish today. Yeah, the more impressive thing about this is that it's a driver's track, and he got a top 5 at a driver's track, and he was stuck in 5th gear all day, according to our earlier reports. So definitely a heck of a drive for him. Party Bus had a flat tire from the start, or maybe just a lawnmower engine, says Mark Barnum. I like BJ McLeod, man. I don't really like. I don't really like talking bad about that guy. He's an underfunded guy, and it's unfortunate, but he does the best he can. As Jeff O'Dine said about Chastain, get over it. Hey, there you go. Spitfire, that Jeff chime in with that one. Spitfire, the Dragon TV, love and positive light. I'm just going to call you Spitfire. 70s and 80s are really pushing, racing hard. Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip are 2 big ones from the 80s. They raced hard and put each other into the wall. That's actually what this one reminded me of. Kyle Larson knew he was about to be wrecked, and he stayed in it just to make sure Ross Chastain took himself out as well. And it reminded me of when Darrell Waltrip hooked Dale Earnhardt Sr. because he knew what Dale Earnhardt Sr. was about to do was only going to wreck him if he didn't do that hook move that he was going to do. Ross, Duke Chronic saying, "Hell, baloney. What's up, Duke? Good to see you on here." Ross was strong all day. Maybe he should slow down and stay out of everyone's way. Yeah, I don't know what you want him to do when he's. I get what you're saying there, Robbie Marks. I don't know what you want him to do when he's got a fast car, not go for wins. On a side note, did you see that Darlington had bologna burgers and Fox put them on TV and Mike Joy talked about them? So there you go. I wanted to throw that in there too before we got going too far. How come Clint's pick 6 for Fox never featured Brendan Poole, BJ McLeod, and Ty Dillon for bets? Just crazy. Yeah, it's totally overlooking some of the greats in the sports, OJ and Two-Face. 100% legends on Earth 2. It's almost like Fox doesn't know about Earth 2, and I'm tired of them pretending that they don't know about Earth 2 because we're here. We're here to stay on Earth 2. Napa Racing fan, 4 straight races with a Chastain incident. Talladega, Chastain versus Gregson. Dover, Chastain versus Larson. Kansas, Chastain versus Gregson. And now Chastain versus Larson too. I mean, yeah, he he gets into people, but there's no doubt about it that there are other drivers back there. The reason Ross gets all the press is because all those happen at the front of the pack. Larson did not want to stop and go a lap down. I have to start at the rear. That's why he tried to push Watermelon Brass out of the way, says William Wagaman. Ross could have won if he wasn't a Crowder on that restart, says Duke Chronic. Yeah, oh yeah, both guys made the mistake. And look, let's not, and I'm a Kyle Larson fan, but let's not pretend like Kyle Larson didn't do it to him on the previous restart. Kyle Larson did something similar. Kyle Larson just used a lot more finesse and didn't wall both of them. I had the 43 today to win, says Aaron Flynn. Yeah, it's unfortunate. That tire came off and that ended his day. Chastain's incident was just dumb today. Sure, wrecking Larson was dumb, but he also wrecked himself out of a chance to win. Chastain is entertaining, but these incidents have to stop eventually. Yeah, because it's going to be a detriment to him and his championship. Still the points leader, as far as I know. But definitely going to hurt his chances if he keeps pulling this nonsense, because eventually he's going to get tangled up with somebody who has nothing to lose and is just going to make it his life's mission for the rest of the season to mess with Chastain back. Did you see the couple in the stands that were wearing the Kyle Larson and Ross Chastain shirts after they crashed? You could read her lips. I want to go home, LOL, says Stephen Emilio Jr. Yeah. And I think a lot of people in the Chevrolet camp had similar feelings about that. Like if they were just Chevrolet fans and didn't necessarily have a specific team that they pull for, 2 of your best Chevrolet drivers got taken out by each other. Unfortunately, Ross could have had a shot at the win if he didn't crowd Kyle on that mid-race restart. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Chastain started it. Kyle Larson retaliated. Then Ross Chastain retaliated a third time in the series of events, and that third time took them both out. I thought you and your channel when Mike Joy mentioned bologna burgers on the broadcast today. So Snapper Racing fan, yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like I didn't know Darlington had a bologna burger. So that first off, so that's even cooler. Mr. Hendricks just put out a comment about Chastain to the press. It's pretty good. I'll have to check that one out then, one wise guy. If you want to throw it down here so I can check it out here, that would be appreciated if anybody's got that. I would love to see a Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick fight versus Ross Chastain this year. Kevin Harvick's probably going to have better odds. I don't know. I don't know that I would take Kyle Busch in a fisticuffs battle with Chastain. Good hard racing. If they didn't go for it, we wouldn't critique them. We would critique them for that as well, says Josh Strickland. That's what I'm saying. You got to see them go for it, and occasionally when they're going for it, they're going to get into each other. Ross Chastain going to get into people more often than not. OJ and toothpaste fried bologna sandwich they showed, and Clint said it wouldn't be good later after eating it. LOL, says OJ and toothpaste. Yeah, so it's definitely not. I mean, some people can. It's definitely not something I want to eat two of. It's definitely a one sandwich per day type of deal. It's not like the Martinsville hot dogs where people eat God knows how many of them, to be honest. What did you think about Mr. Nice Guy Martin taking out 10 cars, says Stephen D'Amelio Jr.? Yeah, we just talked about that. It was not a good day for Martin Truex Jr. Not only that, but he did it earlier in the race too, right? He actually almost took out Ross Chastain before. We almost didn't get to this conversation with Chastain and Larson because Truex almost took out Chastain at the end of stage 2. Then he proceeded to do it again. He had a really tight race car, was the situation that was going on. But yeah, that second time he slid up. He slid up there and took out a good chunk of the field. So it was not a good day for Martin Truex Jr. But sometimes you just have days like that. Ross Chastain, I don't think Truex did it on purpose either. Ross Chastain, are you not entertained? Again, says Robin Marks. So there you go. Ross Chastain walked out there, unleashed hell, and then in true Gladiator fashion said, are you not entertained? Both of those quotes are from the movie Gladiator, by the way, just in case you've never seen it. Duke Chronic, Larson could have stopped and was about fourth in line at the yellow, but too much damage, says Duke Chronic. Yep, it's just it's one of those deals. They both decided that they were going to prove a point in that moment, in my opinion. Willie B having himself a year so far. Let's see if he can keep it up and get a cup, says X Dude. Yeah, to me, he's not being talked about. Like everybody's just talking about Ross Chastain and whoever. William Byron, once again, is a guy that is under the radar and nobody is talking about him. We need to be talking about William Byron because he's having a heck of a season. 3 wins, and the guy is getting like literally no respect. Aaron Flynn, who did the one having Denny's bracket challenge? Oh, I don't know. I have no clue. Let's see. OJ and toothpaste. I don't follow the Denny Hamlin bracket challenge. I think it's another gimmick, and I think NASCAR needs to focus less on gimmicks, and NASCAR needs to focus more on providing good racing at the racetrack. Could Carl Edwards return to the 4-car next year? Says OJ and toothpaste. That's a good question. He's been out of the game for a while, but he might be able to pull that off on Earth too. For those following at home. Harvick wanted the finish, says Duke Chronic. That's true. Ross only 27 points ahead of Bell, 29 ahead of Harvick. So, yeah, tightened it up quite a bit for the regular season championship. Obviously, when the playoffs start, William Byron is ahead of everybody with those 3 wins. Ross has 0 wins and Larson has 2 wins. Is it worth it, says Duke Chronic? I think for Larson, to prove a point, it was worth it. I think for Chastain, he probably should have just I don't know if you want to bump Kyle Larson there. I feel like it's one of those moments where he lost focus. He's guilty of what Denny Hamlin's guilty of. He lost focus of winning the race in the moment to prove a point to Kyle Larson, who already has 2 wins. So from Ross's perspective, it was not wise. From Kyle Larson's perspective, you could argue that it is wise to send a point that, hey, if you wreck me again, I'm going to make sure I wreck you back. So if you want to play it out like that, I do think it was smart on Larson's part, and Ross, once again, overdrove it. But once again, I think both of them are going for the win. I'm not going to sit here and come down on them and, you should have done this, that, and the other thing when it's happening at speed. I don't know if anyone saw FS1's greatest countdown show ever after the race. Number 1 was a 79 Daytona 500, obviously. Yeah, definitely up there. And I think I didn't see the whole thing, but I think the first thing they showed was from Dale Sr. and Terry Labonte, the 2 Bristol races. Elite Precision, what's up, man? Good to see you on here. Man, I'm super annoyed after that race. Another one gets away from Larson. Then you got a couple people blaming Larson for that last wreck when it was obviously Ross at fault. There's a hate boner. I'm glad you said that because that's exactly what I was about to say. Definitely, if they're blaming Larson for that wreck, it's definitely a hate boner on their part because even Ross Chastain admitted that he overdrove it and that one was his fault. OJ and Toothpaste, do you see Rick Hendrick trying to pull a Childress on Chastain? I hope not. I hope not for Rick Hendrick's sake, because nothing against Rick Hendrick. He's a tough dude. He's a competitor, but hell will freeze over before Rick Hendrick whips Ross Chastain's ass. I'll just tell you that right now. Roger Plott says Dale Sr. Said no matter if they cheer or boo for you. You're in their minds. That's right. You don't want to hear it be quiet. So I think that's Ross Chastain all the way. Ross Chastain's basically saying, hey, it doesn't matter if they cheer or boo. I'm here for the win. And I know as long as I'm getting a reaction, people are pulling for me. And to be fair, I think Denny Hamlin's in that same camp. It's Willie's championship to lose this year, says Gojo. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And nobody is talking about him or Christopher Bell for that matter. Martin Truex looked so good for the first third of the race. And then he got tight, super tight. It's like his car just got progressively tighter and they couldn't adjust to it to loosen it up. Duke. Napa Racing Fan 927. William Byron already has the most wins he's ever had in one season with 3. This is definitely his breakout year. He's only 26, I believe. Yeah, that's the scary thing about William Byron. He's still 4 years away from 30. So I mean, the guy he doesn't get talked about often, but he's in it to win it. William Thomas with the super chat. Appreciate you, William Thomas. I didn't get it up there higher. Get the full fist. Crop the knuckles off there on that first one. I appreciate you, William Thomas. Let's see here. I'm upset how Penske is underperforming so far. We need a win, and I really hope NASCAR can help equal out all the manufacturers. It seems every year there's always one bad manufacturer. Yeah, I agree with you. Hopefully after the parity test, they'll do something. But according to Bob Pockrass's opinion, and it is just that, Bob Pockrass's opinion, he doesn't think that they will do anything this season. So that's unfortunate, but hopefully he's wrong. William Thomas says, I think Ford should just send it on the last lap of the 1.5s if they don't if they don't fix the cars. I think Ford does need to make some type of stand if it's already been proven that their nose is behind the curve and they don't get any adjustments because it's supposed to be all about parity this season. Byron is the Rodney Dangerfield of NASCAR. He gets no respect. Robin Marks. Let's see. What place did Denny Sucks finish? Says Josh Strickland. I don't know. I only saw the top 10, and he wasn't in that. One wise guy. You have to be a moderator at Blue Wrench to post links. Oh yeah, I told him to post that on there, so that's my fault right there. Let's see here. There you go, wise guy. You can post stuff now. Let's see. What was your favorite throwback scheme? Says OJ and Toothpaste. I liked, as far as Xfinity, I like Jeffrey Earnhardt's. As far as the Truck Series, I liked the Mario Andretti, and I liked the Adam Petty. And for Cup, I don't know. There was a lot of good ones in Cup. I did like the throwback to the Dodge number 9. That was a good one. And then William Byron won. Whenever you win with a throwback, I feel like that bumps it up a notch. And then that the Penske throwback on Joey Logano was good too. So I liked all those ones. It's a toss-up. A good portion of NASCAR fan base never look at things objectively. It's infuriating, says Elite Precision. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you there, man. Good luck, because that's just the way it's always going to be. I'll just tell you from experience, when you have an unpopular opinion to one fan base, not even to all of NASCAR, when you have one unpopular opinion to one fan base, you're going to hear about it forever on YouTube. I'll just give you a heads up on that one. So basically what I do is just ignore them on that deal. And eventually you'll get to the point where I don't know if I'm just a psycho at this point, but then if I see some really bad ones directed at me, I just start laughing at them. I don't know. I've just hit that point with it. I've gotten so much hate over the time I've been doing this. So I hate that it's like that, but I think eventually you'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll get there. Hendrick Motorsports 5 wins in spite of the drama surrounding them this year. Says X dude. Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Despite all that went on, they do have 5 wins. Without Hendrick, the manufacturers are actually fairly more even, but Hendrick seems to be tipping it all the way in the favor of the Chevrolets. To nobody's surprise, I would say on that one. A lot of boos for Hamlin during the 75 greatest drivers ceremony. LOL, says JFB. Yeah, he is not a popular dude. I've never been to a racetrack where he gets cheered. I was even in Richmond and Martinsville, which he's a Virginia guy. You would think he's a hometown guy there. He even gets booed at those tracks. Newman is 28th, baby. He's really going to get booed at Martinsville next year because he said the grandfather clock is overrated. So he's really going to catch it there. Racing Observer says Newman in 28th, baby, indestructible. Yeah, that's actually a great finish. It sounds crazy for me to say this. That's actually a really good finish for Rick Ware Racing. Larson is just too aggressive himself. Everybody's being too aggressive. I agree with that, Spitfire. I don't think there is anybody that is a nice guy like Mark Martin who never got into controversy. If there are very few of them left. Do you play GTA or Red Dead Redemption, BB? I played some of the GTAs way back in the day. San Andreas is probably the last one I played. But yeah, I used to, and Red Dead I didn't play because I knew I would get too involved in it. Destiny was the last video game I mainlined before I started working on late model stocks, and now I just don't have time for any of it. OG and Toothpaste with the super chat. Appreciate you, man. Fist bump. He says, thanks for all the streams, buddy. You make me laugh when I ask you crazy questions. With that said, will Noah G make the Final Four on Earth 1? Noah Gregson is in the running. Right now, it's questionable, but I think Noah Gregson's going to get in there. I think it's going to be him, Ty Dillon, BJ McLeod, and Brennan Poole. I'm going to put Brennan Poole in there if Brennan Poole runs enough races to make the Final Four. Let's see here. William Byron is completely focused on the big picture now, so he doesn't care about being noticed, says Nathan Urich. I mean, I don't think he's ever cared about being noticed. And also, I wanted to say this as well. Shout out to him winning and talking about his grandfather passing and how that meant like a lot to him. So that is just really cool that something bad like that happened and he won and he honored his grandfather. So that was I wanted to mention that as well. With computers, they can make a nose that's equal, says Duke Chronic. Yeah, I agree. With enough simulation data, they should be able to fix Ford's nose. So I don't know why they don't do it. Josh Strickland says when they announced Denny Sucks for the top 75 drivers, they booed him after they cheered for everyone else. I love it. Says Josh Strickland. So there you go. He might go down as one of the most hated, if not the most hated NASCAR driver of all time. Robert Vittor with the super chat. Appreciate you, Robert. Says Ross, we dealt a bad hand. Ross was dealt a bad hand soon. We'll be dealt a bad hand soon. I got you, Robert. Yeah. After a while, that luck runs out. So I agree with you. You can't keep being involved in accidents and they don't come back on you. So if you keep that style up, eventually people are going to compensate and return the favor. RFK has been impressive compared to last year, but what has happened with Ford? Team Penske looks mediocre. SHR looks bad. Other than Harvick, front row has outrun the other 3 SHR cars a lot of the time, says Napa Racing Fan. Yeah, so Ford is behind on the nose. That has come out to be an actual fact at this point after the parity testing that NASCAR did. So all those drivers, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick that you just mentioned, imagine these top 5 runs they're getting if they were in a car that wasn't behind the 8 ball. So if they were in a car that was actually good, you would imagine they might have 1 or 2 wins by now, right? So the fact that NASCAR has refused to fix the car for Ford, even though they acknowledge that it's not even, it's not a bad look in this era of parity that NASCAR wants us to believe in. So I think NASCAR needs to give them something to get them back in the ball game, because RFK by running good and Kevin Harvick by running good is actually hurting Ford's argument that they are behind, even though it was proven in the wind tunnel. So I don't know. Hey, BB, best paint scheme today was Daniel Suarez's Quaker State by far. I thought his was really good for sure. I should have mentioned that one as well. But yeah, that one is definitely I'm glad to see that particular Quaker State come back, because that was always the best one. They did some ones later that had like some gold in the logo, gold and red, that just weren't as good. But that original Ricky Rudd Quaker State will always be the best Quaker State. What was your reaction to Logano versus Kenseth Martinsville deal? They showed it on the 75 show after the race. Says OJ and Toothpaste. If Matt Kenseth felt like that's what he had to do, then I don't blame Matt Kenseth for that. I mean, it's just part of the deal. If you feel like you got to stand up for yourself, you got to stand up for yourself. So I don't have a problem with that. My dad disagreed with the other day about Ross. I was defending him, but I don't know, man. Says Ryan Fussner. Yeah, I mean Ross just pushes it to the limit, then he pushes it over the limit. Like he's got to learn a little bit better car control. But that being said, Dale Earnhardt Sr. did it forever. So here's the deal with Ross Chastain. You're either going to pull for him or you're not going to pull for him. He's not going to be a guy you're going to be able to fence sit on. He's gonna wreck people, and he's not going to give a crap that he wrecked people. So you're either okay with that or you're not, and that's just the way it is with Ross Chastain. Ross pushes the situations too far, too often. He will have no ally soon. Ross is not the level of accomplishments as Dale. And yeah, that's the other thing. He doesn't win as much as Dale Earnhardt Sr. either. So that's going to be something about his legacy that is different. Earnhardt would continue to be responsible. So that's the other part of it. He's got to start stacking up some wins as well to sort of justify that style. If the throwback numbers are on the door, I might recognize the car. Says Duke Chronic. Yeah, that's one thing I don't understand about the throwback race. I don't understand why they won't allow them to put the numbers on the doors. That worked at One Wise Guy. You got a wrench, says Uncle Bones. Jason Elliott. I agree with Rick Hendrick at NASCAR not going to get involved. It's going. Somebody's going to get hurt, and NASCAR will be responsible. So there you go. Every once in a while, you got to just if you feel like somebody's being too aggressive as a sanctioning body, you got to sit them down and be like, hey, enough is enough. So it is. Elite Precision saying, I'm just ranting, LOL, but man, it's frustrating. Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. I know exactly where you're coming from. I've been in your shoes. I know how it is. Just hang in there. I get you. And feel free whenever you need to, just come to this channel and vent. That's what we're here for. Just wait until Chase Elliott gets back to full speed and full health. Hendrick will have 1A, 1B, and 1C driver for this season. Maybe Bowman will run as good when he returns. Yeah, Hendrick, they've got good cars, but they've also got a good driver lineup too. A lot of people discount the drivers sometimes, saying the equipment is so good. They got good drivers too. Did you like all the Harvick liveries this weekend, says Duke Chronic? I liked them all except for the one that Kevin Harvick drove, ironically. So yeah. They only care about parity when Chevrolet is losing, says Stephen D'Amelio Jr. I think that's a fair point. I think that's a fair point that could be made. Or when Toyota is losing. Those are the two fair points that can be made from the Ford camp. 100%. I understand where you're coming from. Hit the thumbs up, guys, on the stream, says OJ and Toothpaste. Yeah, if you want to hit the thumbs up, it would be much appreciated. I got a super chat here. M43 saying, why sit and watch a race for 3 hours when you know the leader is going to be wrecked at the end of the race? Oh, all right, good. Appreciate the super chat, M43. Yeah, that's a good statement to make because a lot of these things end in overtimes and stuff, which this one didn't. This one ended in regular time, I think. I don't think they went to overtime on this one. But yeah, it seems like every weekend there's going to be some random thing where it's just going to be a restart on the last 10 laps or so or less, or an overtime like I was just talking about. So it does make a lot of fans say, why do we even watch the whole race when I could just tune in to the very end because I know it's going to be a green-white checkers or something like that. That's a common thing that I hear a lot throughout social media and throughout actually just day-to-day talking to people that I know in real life. What was going on with with Josh Berry today? Not good, says OJ and Toothpaste. Yeah, he struggled, man. And even last race he struggled too. It looked like he was getting into people quite a bit last race. So looks like he has a little bit of a learning curve for some tracks on this car. For some tracks on this car, his skills seem to be translating pretty easily. I think the Hendricks using the 48 as a test pilot for the HMS in the garage 56. Maybe. I think the car is just totally different. But even more interesting about that now is Jimmy Johnson is driving that car, right? And Jimmy Johnson is no longer in the Chevrolet camp. So that's going to be interesting when that goes down next year. They got a Toyota driver driving in the Garage 56 car. Ryan Fussner with the super chat, fist bump. Did you hear Carl Edwards talking about maybe being open to coming back and maybe being 100% all in? If I was SHR, I'd be calling him weekly for the 10 car. Hey, that's a good thought process there. He said for sure he is coming back and he's going to race some local stuff and try some, I guess, some dirt things and stuff like that. But yeah, if you can get him interested and you can get him back in a cup car, I'm with you. SHR might open up that 10 car for him because I feel like Carl Edwards would pull sponsors pretty easily at this point. Dale didn't do it all the time, says Duke Chronic. It depends on what era of Dale you're talking about. But yeah, you can make that argument toward the end of his career, but even in 99, just a few years before the end, 99 is when he wrecked Terry Labonte at Bristol. So I don't know. Hated that paint scheme when Gordon ran it, loved it today. Willie B put it in victory lane. What's wrong with me? Says I do. Yeah, your tastes and how things look change as you get older and stuff like that. So it is what it is. Ross is aggressive, but he is blamed for things that aren't his fault. It's the media. He has caused a few, but not all that he's involved in, says Josh Strickland. That's where I'm at with it too. The media wants to talk about every little thing Ross Chastain does. So when you constantly hear about it, somebody showed it earlier. He's only been in actually like 4 or 5 actual events this year, but the media has blamed him for something every race. There is, now I'm not taking this off of Ross, but I'm saying there is some culpability with the media having to bring it up every single race. Oh, what is Ross doing now? He's like the Kardashians of NASCAR. Ross Chastain, what's he doing this week? Keeping up with the Watermelon Man. That's going to be NASCAR's next USA TV show. Maybe the other Penske cars should have run the race in 5th, like Burton. Hey, I mean, once again, shout out to Harrison Burton at a driver's racetrack getting a top 5. They might want to look at the setup that he had underneath his car for sure. I wish the door numbers were slid back closer to the center, says Chrome Diesel. Yeah, I think there's a happy medium. You can still slide them forward, but you can also slide them back just a little bit from how forward some of them are right now. I think you can find a happy medium that'll make everybody less agitated with the placement that they're at now. I still like Chastain, but these incidents are hurting his results. I agree with that. As much as the drivers he runs into, particularly today, still over a year since his last win, 2022 Geico 500. Yeah, it is definitely catching up to him. But that being said, he's still a hard-nosed race car driver, and he's still the leader of the regular season points. If he wins the regular season points without winning a race, that's going to be a pretty cool accomplishment as well. I'm shocked that Kevin Conway wasn't named one of the 75 greatest drivers. I thought he would have a nice shirt sitting next to him and Carl and Jimmy before the race. I don't know if he was up for the challenge. Maybe he wasn't a big enough star. If he could have extended his career just a little bit longer on Earth 2, I think he's a stone cold lead pipe lock. But it's going to be hard for him to get in with a career that was that short. And he wasn't able to extend it as long as he could there, OJ and Toothpaste. I think that's why you didn't see him in there. Jason Elliott. And if you know who his sponsor was, you'll get what I was doing there. Jason Elliott, Rick Hendrick, NASCAR has to step in and stop testing or talk to his owner. Because I already told Chevy I will do whatever it takes with my team to defend my team, and my drivers are told the same. So there you go. Rick Hendrick is going to hire he's going to hire some outside muscle, is what it sounds like there. I don't know. I wouldn't mess with Teflon Ricky there. Your Cobra says, do you think Larson held it wide open to T-bone push and felt it a little bit too long? He definitely did that on purpose, and he was definitely sending a message to Ross Chastain in that moment. That's definitely something that could be looked at, but I doubt NASCAR does anything about it other than sit down and say, don't do that again. He's probably on double secret probation after that. But who knows? Because you would think Ross Chastain would have been on double secret probation a long time ago. Was at Target yesterday looking at diecast since when is Tide burnt orange? Come on, Lionel, get your colors right. It's so bad. Says Mark 63. Yeah, that's the same thing with this one. I don't know if it comes through. I don't know if it comes through in the camera, but that is a really that is like a reddish orange. It is not bright at all orange. So that's another fail. As far as the leave your sponsorship here, Lionel. That's another fail on Lionel's part there. Sorry, I just got to call it like it is. I can't. I'm not ever going to have a lot of sponsors because I tell the truth. Let's see. I wonder why there were great NASCAR drivers not in the top 75 of all time. Why wasn't Mario Andretti not in the top 75? He won a Daytona 500, Indy 500. I think just because he didn't spend enough time in NASCAR. But I don't think anybody's going to doubt how good of a driver he was, Spitfire. But yeah, he should maybe be in a section of the Hall of Fame for Daytona 500 winners. I feel like all the Daytona 500 winners should be in a special section. They want overtime, I thought, said Team Penske fan. I mean, they were probably shooting for it today. Somehow Harrison Burton pulled off a top 10 today, says Ryan Perez. Robert Torre, maybe. Says fair analogy, M43. Chastain has got to get more wins with all the publicity he gets, in my opinion, says OJ and Toothpaste. Yeah, I think you're onto something with that. He's got to get wins to sort of back up the hype. They're hyping him up a lot, so he's got to start backing that up with some dubs. Even though Penske was bad, I was so excited for our alliance with the 21 car, says Team Penske fan. Yeah, I was waiting for Harrison Burton to break out at some point, and thank God he finally got a finish. He needed that finish probably more than anybody needed a good finish in the entire garage of the Cup Series. So I'm glad he got one there. I agree with Spitfire on the 75 drivers. They should have kicked Casey Kane out for his spot, says OJ and Toothpaste. 3 hour race gives me 3 hours of beer. Catch just to watch the end, says Cobra. So there you go. It is a 3 hour beverage experience for the Cobra over there. Kane Corliss, what's up, man? Good to see you on here, dude. With stage racing, there is no meaning for a 500-mile race. Since stage racing, there have been no real 500 winners, says Racing Observer. That is a fair point. Let me slide down here. Looks like we got a super chat. Rowdy Every Point. Fist bump on the super chat. I know it's only 7th place, but KFB, Randall Burnett, and the RCR number 8 got the speed and performance back in the race car, and there has to be more optimism. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think they had a super, super good showing. I think if they hadn't messed up, if he hadn't overslid his pit road, I think he would have won the race. I won't even lie about it, because after Larson and Ross Chastain and Larson wrecked. I think Kyle Busch probably had the 3rd fastest car in that deal. Carl Edwards was great in the booth today, in my opinion. He did a way better job than Boyer did with analyzing the race. I like the Petties and the Elliots, but Edwards was the best in the booth. Yeah, I agree with that. And I liked everybody there, but I agree. Carl Edwards, he had a flow to it, and he did a great job. If Jimmy don't drive a Toyota next year, his lifetime sponsor is safe. Says Duke Chronic. Hey, that's true too. Jimmy doesn't necessarily have any races lined up for next year. So maybe that is a situation. It's just going to be a weird situation with a Toyota driver driving that Garage 56 deal, I think. Well, the newer drivers was in there, like Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, who did not put in the years to be in the top 75 yet. So, yeah, that's another situation you have. It's always a sticky deal when you put people in there whose career is not over with yet. Ross' situation is summed up as perspective is reality, says Ryan Fussner. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Napa Racing fan Carl Edwards was one of the my most favorite drivers. I still hate the way he retired. Respect his decision doesn't mean I agreed with it. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. He had many great years left in him. I missed the victory lane backflips. Yep. He looked like he was in great shape, though, today. Robert Vittore says, put Dale, but Dale would be asked about it, and he would say, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I don't know what happened. But Ross always apologizes. Yeah, that's something Ross needs to learn. He needs to just be like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I just got loose. Just meant to rattle his cage. Come with something like that. Just don't apologize and take the blame for it. Iron Head, Rubberhead, and Watermelon Head. Melon Head, says Duke Chronic. Yeah, I like it. John Mitchell says Ross is the closest thing since Dale Earnhardt. People crying are weak. Simple as that. The man is number one. Guy, simple as that, because he is number one. Talked about, not the Rex, just kitty cats, says John Mitchell. Chrome Diesel, Carl on the Project 91 at RC's. Hey, there you go. That would be pretty cool. Get cousin Carl over there. He hadn't drove. I don't think he's driven a Chevrolet yet in his Cup career. So get him over there at Trackhouse in the 91. Justin Haley with an 8th place finish, says Mark 63. Yeah, Justin Haley's another one that needed a good finish. Number 4, Rick Wilson, was not on the top 75 list. Yeah, you hate to see that there was only one Kodak man there, being Sterling Marlin. You would expect to see Rick Wilson in that mix as well. A rough day for Earth 2 drivers, no doubt about it, Duke Chronic. John Mitchell, NASCAR should get behind Ross. He is the best they have. As far as drawing in new fans, as far as drawing in blue-collar fans, I would agree with you there. Just the backstory alone. I wish Tony Stewart and Mark Martin were at the race. Yeah, that kind of stung, but Tony Stewart had something to do, and I'm sure Mark Martin had a previous obligation as well. Scott Speed is top 75, says Mark 63. Earth 2, no doubt about it. Another short career, talking about Scott Speed. Kyle Larson on Ross Chastain. What a hack. More of a hack today than Bowman was with Hamlin in Martinsville, in my opinion, says Napa Racing Fan. Yeah, that's one of those times where I wish they're playing the in-car audio, but that's one of those times where I wish they wouldn't. Because I don't want to make another hack video, because I don't think Kyle Larson would have said that actually in public. Whereas Denny Hamlin definitely would have said that in public. Ted Musgrave is not in the top 75 either, and neither is Dick Trickle. Hey, Dick Trickle should definitely be in there. We got the old Dick Trickle right here. Got the old that was a killer eBay find right there, $299, and that was all mine. OJ and Toothpaste, hot take. Fox pre-race and the race show is trash. I get back to the Hollywood Hotel. I would love to see the Hollywood Hotel, OJ and Toothpaste. Ted Musgrave, though, yeah, I would love to see the number 16 Family Channel car. I want to see a throwback to that, and I would like to see that also in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, because that was a cool car. John Mitchell, NASCAR should be behind Ross and suspend Larson for 5 races. So there you go. There's a absolute flip opinion on that one. Let's see. Your Cobra, I'm sorry, with this new car, you almost have to wreck somebody to pass. The first 2 stages were boring. Stage 3, all wrecks. Finishes because of those wrecks, just avoiding them and got good. Says Your Cobra, yeah, for sure, 100%. Duke Chronic says burnt orange is cool. It is cool, but they're definitely off on the actual color of the Kubota car here. Buckshot Jones, top 75. Oh yeah, Buckshot's got to be in there. Maybe I'll make an Earth 2 top 75 that would only be only people that watch this would get it. So everybody else would be in utter confusement. Rowdy Every Point with the super chat. There are 20 pairs of tickets left for the North Wilkesboro All-Star Truck Race, priced at $40 to $50. So anyone wanting to go experience North Wilkesboro and a full house can. There you go. Good looking out, Rowdy Every Point. If you want to go see the truck race, which I think is actually going to be a good show, there are still tickets available, and $45 to $50 is not that bad for a ticket. Get there early, because parking is going to be a pain in the butt. Cobra, that is a product of the playoff system. Yeah, it can't be ignored that the playoff system is part of the reason why drivers are driving like they're driving. I will agree with you there. Napa Racing Fan, I was hoping Larson would finally win a cup race at Darlington, but at least Byron won after last year's spring finish. Yeah, that is good. He had a good car last year, so he does get a little bit of redemption here. At least Larson's radio communications afterwards was hilariously entertaining. Yes, it's more like Clint Daniels was going off, in my opinion, than Kyle Larson was. Clint Daniels, a fiery competitor. John Mitchell, Ross is going to win the whole thing. Stop it. Ross Chastain's the points leader right now, so I'm not denying that. But William Byron is going to be stiff competition. I would say that those two and Christopher Bell have had the most consistent and best seasons so far. John Mitchell, I have $100 on that Chase will finish ahead of Ross. Oh my goodness, we got some action in the comments. Yeah, I don't know how you guys will get up with each other, but sounds like you two guys got some action going on there. And I'm going to go ahead and end this poll question, because that just gives me an idea for another poll question. Who finishes higher in points So there you go. I'll put it up to a vote. I have a feeling that there's just so many Chase Elliott fans that I know which way this is going to go. So I probably should have picked a different driver, but we'll see here. What did Larson say? He called him a hack, JFB. To paraphrase it, he called him. He said it was a hack move by Chastain. Cindric is having a tough season and needs a good finish. Yeah, Cindric's going to be the next one on that list. Now that Harrison Burton got a good finish, I would put Austin Cindric on that list as well. How are things going? Robert Vittori says John Mitchell. Stage breaks are cringe at some tracks to me, says Duke Chronic. They're cringe at all tracks to me. I don't mind the stages, but we got to stop the stage breaks. John Mitchell says this. Ryan Perez, if Carl Edwards were to return, what team do you think he would drive for? I'd guess JGR replacing Truex in the 19, or a new third car for RFK. That's a good question. I don't know. Duke Chronic says Carl has a big brain. Of course, referring to his hat size there, which I would agree. Night of Crook 2488 OJ and Toothpaste 2 asks a Night Crook 2488. We have an Earth 2 where everything is backwards compared to Earth 1. So BJ McLeod would be a 7-time, for example, BJ McLeod would be a 7-time champion on Earth 2. That's what we're talking about there. It's deep lore on the live chats if you're sort of newer to the live chats. John Mitchell, Robert Vittori, Chase versus Ross for 100. You have to honor, says John Mitchell. So there you go. We're gonna follow it here, and hopefully we'll make it honorable. I have no idea of how to do that, but it is on record here. It has been documented. Looking forward to your video on Mr. Hendrick's comments, says one wise guy. It'll be up probably in the morning. Awesome chat, folks. Got to go. Denny sucks, says Josh Strickland. What is your opinion of Clint Boyer in the booth? Clint tries too hard, in my opinion, Mary. I don't mind Clint myself, but sometimes he cuts people off and tries just a little too hard. So maybe if he could just tone it down just a little bit, I think he'd be okay. Should Bill Elliott replace Mike Joy as a play-by-play announcer? I like Mike Joy. I don't know about that one. Uncle Bones, one wise guy, thanks for the video. Mr. H telling how it is, says Uncle Bones. Carl comes back. He will be driving a John Deere. There you go. But he did say he wants to do some local stuff. LOL, John Mitchell wouldn't miss 100. I don't make wagers I can't back up or honor, says Robert. So there you go. It's on. It's on like Donkey Kong. We have it locked in. Robert versus John. You have all season with Baloney. I make that bet, says John Mitchell. What a shame. Larson is having another 10-win season. If they would let him finish a race, says Joshua Pittman. Yeah, it's very, very it's very irritating as a Larson fan to see him have this much race-winning speed this often and just continually not finishing races. It sucks, man. It totally sucks. Mike Honcho says Chastain strikes again. Go Larson. So there you go. I like that handle there, Mike Honcho. A little Talladega Nights reference. One of the funnier moments in that movie. I believe there wouldn't be Chrome Diesel. I believe there wouldn't be much cautions and torn up cars if we got rid of the stage cautions. I agree with you 100%. That's a good point, Chrome Diesel. If we got rid of some of these stage cautions, there wouldn't be as much torn up stuff. I agree with you. Most of the drivers in the color commentary are guys in the booth. Says Duke Chronic. You're welcome, Uncle Bones. Says one wise guy. The wins and the points may not show, but Kyle Larson and the 5 team by far has been the best team in Cup this year. It's incredible how many times. Yeah, I agree with that. How many times they've been at the front competing for wins. Yeah, I do agree with that. And I think another one, not quite the same type of season, but Kyle Busch has had a good season too. But he's had a lot of DNFs as well. I noticed Kyle Larson was going to sweep at a track he hates, like last win, says Duke Chronic. There you go. He's starting to put it together at tracks that he doesn't necessarily care for. So that's the scary part about it. For the competition, I think they have 5 and 24 have been the fastest cars, and the 9 is getting faster each week, says Rowdy Every Point. So yeah, I do agree with that as well. I wonder if Cartoon Network will sponsor a car in the future at a Darlington race. That would be cool. The number 29 of Steve Grissom back in the day was probably my favorite Cartoon Network car. I think Cartoon Network went out of business though. I'm sure somebody else will buy them though, and maybe when they do, they'll do that. I have no idea how John Mitchell says Ross. I have no idea how Chase Elliott finished 3rd today, ran 9th to 12th most of the day. Great finish, but they weren't that high up until the very end. Well, I think attrition, and part of it, he came over the radio and said he knows he could go faster, but he wanted to save tires because he didn't want him to hurt it at the very end. So I think once he got a short run, he knew he could just go for it. So I think that's the game he was playing. Duke Chronic says, spoiler alert, every point Rowdy every point says Chase is just getting more comfortable each week. I expect him to close the gap 5 and 24 each week. 70% are going with Ross over Chase to finish higher in the points there as of right now. So if you want to vote on that, feel free to jump in and vote on it. Stage cautions are bad at Darlington. The long runs, there are way more interesting than the short runs because of lap traffic, tire fall off, and race strategy. I agree with that 100%. Napa Racing fan. It just when you know a caution's coming, it's just easier to game plan for a race because you can work backwards from it. With Haley Deegan, will Haley Deegan make it to Cup in a couple years? Wood Brothers or SHR? Those will be the two landing spots if she makes it. I have no idea if she makes it or not, but I do think she'll be a much better Xfinity driver than a truck driver. Mary Grubbs, thank you. Great response. Thank you for asking, Mary. Glad to have you on here. Robin Marks, Ross finishes first, maybe winless. A farmer just puts their heads down and works. If he's up front every race, it will happen. Where was he when the last yellow flew, says Robin Marks. That's a good point. If you're up there, if you're constantly up at the front, it's going to happen eventually. Racing Observer says, if Harvick does get one more win, where do you think he's got the strongest chance? That's a good question. He's always been good at Phoenix. And he's always been good at mile and a half. So I would say a mile and a half, without a doubt, would probably be where he gets it. But don't discount North Wilkesboro either. And I do count the All-Star race as a win. So Ryan Blaney's winless streak is not as long for me as it is for other people. Robert says, Google Robert and you'll find me. Hey, so there you go. He said you can find him. So there you go. I would suggest she win a truck or Xfinity race before she accepts a cup ride. Otherwise, people will just be saying she only got the ride because she's female. That's part of it. I think if I was her, I just wouldn't even worry about that anymore because it's always going to be something from that group that thinks she can't drive because she's a girl. I'd rather see Edwards in the top 10 Xfinity car. It suits him better and would be awesome to watch. Yeah, like he could do the same thing Junior's doing. Like I think that would be a good fit for him too. Will Josh Berry win the All-Star race as OJM Toothpaste? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think he will, but I think he'll be a contender. But I don't think he'll win it. But the fact that he's already in it with Alex Bowman's points definitely does help his chances. He doesn't have to race his way in the open. They don't race on old tires anymore. That was the best racing, says Duke Chronic. Yeah, they don't get much past 40 laps on a set of tires anymore. So that's part of it too. That's why the tires never fall off. They don't run them long enough. Ross is that guy that we needed for years, and by season's end, he will be the hottest thing in NASCAR. Chase is a guy that was groomed to win. Ross is old school, hard work. He is the guy NASCAR needs, says John Mitchell. Yeah, I agree with that too. He's the first blue collar guy we've had that's leading the points in quite some time, in my opinion. And Josh Berry would fall into that category too if he could get the lead in the Xfinity points. If he's not leading them, I haven't kept up with Xfinity very much this year. Mary Grubbs, I look forward to Larson surprising the next driver that tries to put him out by retaliating. Like he made sure Ross got his fair share of it today too. Duke Chronic, when the 48 runs terrible, they are testing stuff out. It's obvious. That's he's definitely a good R&D driver too. So because he was basically being trained to be a crew chief. So yeah, that is a very fair point, Duke. Rowdy says they will at North Wilkesboro. They only get one set of tires for the final stage, and I think it's like 75 or more laps. Hey, so there you go. There will be tire fall off at North Wilkesboro. North Wilkesboro is abrasive anyway, so I'm hoping that race is very good. Robert says, John Mitchell says to Robert, see people say that Chase will not beat Ross. LOL. So there you go. That's going to be one we have to watch all season. I'm excited for North Wilkesboro next week. If they get a point state, hopefully they replace a track like Texas, not Darlington. Darlington never seems to disappoint. I agree with you. Darlington has put on some of the best races of all time, especially recently. Harvick will win at Michigan, says Mark Barnum. I like it. That's a good track for him too. Do you think Austin Dillon could make the Final Four this year. On Earth 2, he could definitely make the Final Four. In Earth 1, unless he wins a race, not a snowball's chance in hell because he's just getting too many DNFs. This has been a terrible season for Austin Dillon. Usually super consistent, usually showing up at the end with a top 10 out of nowhere. This season, he has just been DNF City, unfortunately. And that big penalty hurt him as well. Petty Racing made a big mistake bringing on Jimmy Johnson, says Mark Kirby. Yeah, and Richard Petty sold his shares basically to Jimmy Johnson. He just works for him now. So he doesn't even have any ownership say in the franchise anymore. Rowdy says, I really hope Harvick wins in his retirement season like Kenseth and Jeff Gordon did. Yeah, that would be really cool. I'm hoping for the same thing myself. Today, it would seem like Larson has had enough. Super proud of the 5 team, says Mike Honcho. I'm glad he stood up for himself, and hopefully this is the end of it, and they're done going forward. Napa Racing fan Alex Bowman has missed 3 races and is only -5 below the 16th point cutoff line. Yeah, that's super crazy, and he gets an additional week to recover because the All-Star race, of course, is a non-points race. John Mitchell, people have the right to their opinion, says Robert. Racing Observer, I wish NASCAR commentators would call out more things. Being biased doesn't help, and NASCAR has zero clue how to replace people. I wish they would be bolder and hold NASCAR accountable for their BS. I agree with that, but they won't do it. John Mitchell says, Robert, you are correct. That is what makes it fun, says John Mitchell. And Mary Grubbs says, Robert, I agree. Napa Racing fan Kyle Busch and the 8 has had speed, but what happens to Austin Dillon with the 3? I believe Austin Dillon has just 2 top 10s and 13 races. Ouch, says Napa Racing fan. Yeah, he's been in a bunch of wrecks. Just to be totally frank with you, he's gotten caught up uncharacteristically. Actually, for him, he's been caught up in a lot of wrecks. He usually does finish all the races, not this season. People say a lot of things, but that doesn't mean they're always right. I just know what a great driver Chase is and willing to bet on him. So there you go. I think it's going to be a pretty good vet. But right now, the crowd is thinking Ross 70% will finish higher than Chase Elliott in the points this season. Chase Elliott is 63 points below the cutoff line. He can still point his way in, says Chrome Diesel. So maybe that's another question. I have a pretty good idea how this one is going to go. I'm going to call it right here because I don't think it's going to go any further. Start a poll. Does Chase make the playoffs? How about that? A poll that has been done many times and will be done again on this channel. Does Chase make the playoffs? And I lost my place. I always lose my place when I do those. Scared money never wins anything, says Robert. Hey, there we go. We're getting into some gambling, Gamblers Anonymous stuff now. The bet is on. Stay here with us all season. Duke Chronic, Clyde don't have to make the playoffs and just have fun, says Duke Chronic. Chase will make the playoffs, says John Mitchell. Chase, you mean Briscoe? No, I'm kidding. Says Napa Racing fan. The only Chase that people talk about, despite how Chase Briscoe drives, nobody talks about Chase Briscoe. Like if Chase Briscoe was running toward the front of the field, like if he wasn't in one of the Fords that are being hampered by that front nose, then 100% Chase Briscoe would be getting talked about just as much as Ross Chastain. Because fun fact, they have the exact same driving style. Same thing with the new and improved Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece has been driving the exact same way as well. So if those guys get toward the front, expect some Ross Chastain action from them. Duke Chronic says, Mike Joyce said Redskins. Trolls in 3-2-1. JK says Duke. Yeah, he got ate up pretty bad. Shockingly, he got ate up pretty bad on Twitter for that. But he said that because Joe Gibbs never coached the Commanders. He coached the Redskins. He said that's the reason he said it. Let's see. Chase does not need to win. Yeah, he can still point his way in. With Fox handing over the broadcast to NBC in 4 weeks after Sonoma, do you think broadcast and viewership improves? They'll get the Dale. Here's what people don't talk about. They'll get the Dale Jr. bump just going to NBC. And the camera work on NBC seems to be better too. I still like Mike Joy as the anchor better. But I think NBC has other stuff going for it. They got the better color because they've got Dale Jr. and he's got that huge built-in fan base. And they have had the better directors and camera work as well. Yeah, I don't know how Chase got like that. Coming from Open Wheel, says Red Frog. Talking about Briscoe. Yeah, I mean, he like I said, like there's a ton of guys that drive like Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain's the only one that's up in the front at the top of the points that's driving like that. So I feel like that's part of the reason he gets talked about as much as well. Stephen Emilio Jr. Chase will win this year, says John Mitchell. So I think Chase will win this year too. Like he's just too good of a driver not to, in my opinion, and too good of equipment and too good of a driver not to get a win this season. But I've been wrong before, and anything can happen in racing. One wise guy, I believe it will, says Mary Grubbs. Yeah, I think they'll get the bump too for the reasons I mentioned. I talk about viewership with what one wise guy said here. Yeah, I think they'll get the bump. You get the Dale Jr. bump, and then you get the bump for the people that like the camera work and stuff like that better on NBC as well. I'm going to take a couple more questions if you want to throw them in here, and then I'm going to jump off in probably a minute or two. So if you want to get your last ones in, we'll do that. Plus, for those who ditched cable, I believe the race will only be on the Peacock app, which is only like $4.99 a month. Hey, so there you go. If you want to ditch cable and go with the Peacock to watch your races there, you can watch them on Peacock. That's been a little bit of a controversy too. Like a lot of people, if you could get NASCAR on one streaming app, like you do MLB, you get all the games on one app. I think a lot of people would cut the cord on cable. Is that part of the reason that NASCAR hasn't done it yet? I think that's a fair question to ask. Is the cable money so good that NASCAR can't get away from them right now? Because eventually, right, the cable thing will die out. Like eventually streaming will take over at some point, just like Netflix overtook Blockbuster. Like eventually traditional video stores disappeared. The same thing will happen with cable. Eventually streaming will take over. Chrome Diesel would be interesting to see how things would play out in 2011 to 2013. Chase format, Elliott would have to win a few races to get the wild card spots, says Chrome Diesel. Yeah, it would. I'm sure somebody will retroactively go back there and put those points in. But yeah, that would be something we could observe if I can find somebody that can do that. You have to watch the Rick Hendrick, Jeff Gordon interview, says William Wagaman. I'll check it out. Somebody dropped it in here, so I'll go back later and check it out. I think one wise guy dropped it in here for us. NBC seems to care more about fans than Fox. Yeah, I think they take it more seriously than Fox does. It seems to be like an afterthought to Fox right now, unfortunately. I agree with you 100% there, Mary. NASCAR fans should take notice, says Napa Racing Fan. Thanks for the wrench. See you Tuesday, says one wise guy. Chase who? You mean the Gimp? Says Mark Kirby. Yeah, I'm talking about Chase Elliott there. I'll put Chase Elliott from now on, or Chase 9. I'll put CE9 from here on out because I guess I'm getting roasted for not differentiating which Chase I'm talking about. It will still be on NBC Sports via TV, says Rowdy Every Point. Chase is no Bill, and that is what people are always hoping. I don't think he will get to that. I see him as more of a Dale Jr. riding the coattails of his dad, not like Ross building it himself. That being said, he does have a title. Either way you want to look at it. Last year he had the best season and would have won an old school title that way, and he's got like a new school title where he won the championship. So he does have a title. So I'm not gonna, and not taking anything away from Dale Jr. He's got 26 wins. He's got 2 Xfinity Series titles, but he's Chase Elliott's got a Cup title. So he's more in that conversation than I would say Dale Jr. is. That being said, those 2 guys are legends. Nobody's going to live up to Dale Earnhardt Sr. Nobody's going to live up to Richard Petty and Kyle Petty's part, and nobody is ever going to live up to Bill Elliott either. So it's an unfair comparison. I don't ever want to compare them like that. Ross Chastain took him out last race. That never happens, says Duke Chronic. John Mitchell, Chase has been racing for years, sir. So there you go. And with that one, I am going to jump it off. You guys, it was fun. And I'll catch you on the next one. Let me end this poll because I always forget to do that. Let me end the poll. Yeah, the junior slander is ridiculous. Man, so bummed out. Let's see. Does Chase Elliott make the playoffs? 70% say yes. I am not shocked at all about that. Jamie Thornton, what's up? Good to see you on here. Hope you're doing better. We are praying for you every single day. And with that one, I am going to jump off here. Catch you on the next one. Peace.